What's up everyone, Caleb here with Hemp Daddies Therapeutics. And if you're new to our channel, let me tell you a little bit about Hemp Daddies. We make certified USDA organic CBD products. We have tincture oils, water solubles, we have capsules, and even an amazing transdermal cream. And you can find out all about our products at hempdaddies.com. Anyway, if you're already a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button. I like to post videos, educational videos about CBD. So today, we're going to talk about how to find the CBD product that's right for you. So I know if you're new to CBD, it's probably super overwhelming with all the different options out there. So let's kind of just go through kind of the main options out there, and then I will tell you how to best go about finding out a product that's going to be right for you. So the first one and the most popular one is the tincture oil. These are just simple oils that use a dropper, which is right here, and you just pull the CBD up into the dropper and you just simply drop it under your tongue. So it's actually a question I get asked a lot. Oh, how do I take this? So, you know, it's something that's just automatic to me, and sometimes I forget to tell people, oh, you have to take it under your tongue. And it's important to hold it under the tongue for about 30 to 60 seconds and let it sit there until it kind of dissolves, and swallow whatever's left over. So another format that's starting to become popular, this is fairly new to the CBD industry, is water soluble products. The nice thing about these is they're super easy to take. You just use that dropper and measure out the dose you need, and you put it into a beverage. So like a water or a coffee or even your smoothie are great to put the water soluble products into. So another product that Hemp Daddies has available, which is also a very popular product, are capsules. So this is one of the most popular products we sell, is the capsule format, and they come in a 20 milligram dose from Hemp Daddies. You can find them in a variety of doses from other sources, but for us it's a 20 milligram dose. And the other thing we sell is a transdermal cream, and these are super effective for things like achy joints, sore muscles, arthritis, tennis elbow. You know, I got a little bit of soreness in my neck right now, so I'm going to put a little bit on my hand right there, reach back here and just give that a little rub so my neck's not sore while I'm talking to you guys. But these transdermal creams, and the other companies might have it in the form of a salve, however you want to say that. So that's an option as well. And so, but now we're going to talk about, how do you know which one of these products is right for you? There's so many different options. I mean, there's options out there that Hemp Daddies doesn't even offer right now, like gummies and other edibles. And so things like the gummies and even the capsules, I don't recommend starting out with things like this, because they're usually like a higher dose. They're usually like a 10, 20, or a 30, or even a 40 milligram dose. So they're usually really high doses. And when you first start taking CBD, you don't want to start with a high dose. You want to use either like the tincture oil, or you can even use like, you know, the water soluble oil. And the reason for that is you can measure out your dose. And the rule of CBD when you're first starting out is to start low and build up slowly. So you want to start out with about a 5 to 10 milligram dose and build that up every like 5 to 7 days. So every 5 to 7 days, bump it up another 5 to 10 milligrams until you start feeling the results you're looking for. So let's say you struggle with like anxiety or depression. Just continue to increase that dose until you feel the results. And once you get to that dose, that's kind of the dose you need to stay at. Unless you start noticing some changes, then you might either need to lower it if you're kind of seeing adverse effects, or if you're not seeing as good of results, then maybe try increasing your dose. You might even try breaking up that dose into 2 doses a day versus 1 dose a day, because the half-life of CBD is about 24 hours. So once you take that dose, the amount of CBD in your system is gradually decreasing over a 24-hour period. So let's say you take your dose in the morning. By the end of the day, you're starting to feel cranky. Chances are you just need another dose of CBD. And CBD is great for sleep as well. So I generally recommend starting to take your first dose at night. And if you struggle with something like anxiety or depression or something else that kind of affects you more during the day, then maybe introduce a dose during the day. But once you kind of dial in the dose that works for you, you really just need to stick with that, because there's no reason to take more CBD than you need. But let's say you're an athlete, or you have kind of like some sort of chronic injury that flares up on occasion. When you have situations like that, you might want to take a little bit of higher dose just to kind of help with that pain and inflammation that's occurring. So but in general, you just kind of want to stay at a steady dose. So let's say you kind of started out with like a 600 milligram tincture, and you ended up dialing in a dose of about 20 milligrams a day and you're taking 10 milligrams. Actually, for this example, let's say you're taking 20 milligrams twice a day. So you're taking 40 milligrams. So let's say you kind of get tired of having to dose out the tincture every day. Then you might kind of look at something else like an edible or like a capsule. And so like I mentioned before, the Hemp Daddy's capsules are a 20 milligram capsule. And you can end up taking that twice a day instead of the tincture. But here's another thing to be aware of too. So these here, the capsules, you take it orally, swallow it with water, and it goes into your digestive tract. So it's going to absorb a little bit slower than the tincture oil, which is taken sublingually. So you might notice it takes a little longer for the results to be noticed. But then again, if you're taking it on a daily basis, it's going to be built up in your system, and you'll probably just be noticing the results on an ongoing basis anyway, so it might not be that big of a deal. But another thing to consider too is maybe you're not getting the results you want from a tincture oil. So you might try a capsule at that point since you've been taking CBD for a while. Then at that point you might jump into like an edible or a capsule and see if you get better results from that. Because there are people I've talked to, they tell me that the tincture oil didn't work for them, but the capsule did. So that kind of brings me to another point. It's all about experimentation. What works for you might not work for me, and what works for your best friend might not work for the next person. So it's just really important to experiment, because the same is true with dosage. No one's going to take the same dose. Everyone's going to react differently. So you're going to need a different dose than I need. So it's super important to experiment. And that's why I recommend starting out with that tincture oil, or even the water soluble is a great product to start out with as well. So now let's say the issue you struggle with is something like arthritis, or you're an athlete and you have sore muscles or achy knees a lot. Then you might just want to go with something like the transdermal cream, which is really great for localized pain. So myself, I have some chronic back pain issues, and I also have some chronic Achilles tendonitis. And so I take both the transdermal cream and the oil. But let's say you're you're getting started for the first time with CBD, and let's say arthritis is your issue in your hands. So I would start out with something like the transdermal cream and just apply that locally. So I have a lot of customers that use our transdermal cream for arthritis with great success. And so they don't even use the oils because they only have the pain here. And so they don't struggle with any other inflammation issues or anxiety or anything like that. So for them, the transdermal cream is perfect. The same is true for a lot of athletes that use our product. They just get sore quads, sore knees a lot, and things like that. So they just stick with the transdermal cream. But again, this comes down to experimentation, because I've talked to some athletes who say, oh, the transdermal cream doesn't do jack for them, but the oils just do amazing things for them. So really and truly, there's no wrong product to use. So if you're first getting started, just grab the first thing that seems attractive to you. That is, of course, after you've kind of experimented with that oil, or like I said, you might just start with the transdermal cream if it's just like a local pain issue. And so, I mean, really and truly, there's so many different products out there. It's just super important, most important, that you experiment with your dosage. So once you kind of dial in that dosage, feel free to move on to other products if you want, or you can just stick with the tincture if it's working perfectly for you. I know some people don't like to mess with dosing from a tincture, so they'll use something like a gummy or capsule, especially when they're traveling or on the go. And I actually myself prefer to switch over to the capsule when I'm traveling, just because it's lightweight, it fits in my bag, it takes up less weight. I mean, I know it's only a few ounces, but it's just smaller, it's more portable. It's just something I prefer when I'm traveling. So now let's talk about some wrong ways to consume CBD. So I've kind of talked about the right things to do. So let's talk about some common mistakes people make when they first start taking CBD, and just the things to avoid. So the first thing is not dosing properly. So when people come to me and say, hey, I'm not getting any results, and so the thing that I ask first is, how much are you taking? And a lot of the times, oh, I'm taking 10 milligrams a day. Well, that's not going to do jack for you, especially if you have something like chronic pain. You're going to need a much higher dose. You're going to probably need 20 or 40 milligrams a day. So me personally, I take 60 milligrams a day, but I'm also an athlete. I'm constantly, pounding my legs and my feet, and have these other chronic niggles and stuff that I'm kind of wanting to treat as well. So again, it goes back to everybody being different, but it's super important to be patient is you first start taking it, you might not notice the results for 2, 3, 4, or 6 weeks out. So it's super important to be patient and slowly work up your dose and be willing to make the investment to see what dosage works for you. Don't just buy the cheapest thing because it's the cheapest thing and say, hey, I'm just going to get started. I'm just going to dip my toes and see if this works. You really need to make the investment into like a higher strength. What I usually recommend is starting out with like an extra strength. Ours is like a 600 milligram strength for a 1 ounce bottle, and that gives you more latitude to experiment. You can either take that full dropper, or you can take half a dropper, or you can take a dropper and a half, just whatever it takes to dial in your dosage. So the thing not to do is get impatient. Don't get impatient with it. And just take the time you need to figure out what dose works for you. Another thing that's important is to remember to take it daily. Don't just take it like for acute things. So if you have, especially if you struggle with like stress, anxiety, inflammation, anything like that, take it daily, because again, it builds up in your system over time. CBD is not good for acute things as it is for more like chronic things. So that's another thing to remember. If you have like acute pain, oftentimes CBD isn't going to help that as much as like your kind of more chronic things, the ongoing inflammation. But it does help a lot with pain in some instances. So don't get me wrong, CBD still can help with your pain that is acute. But for the most part, it's not to be used like an ibuprofen where you just take it when you get that inflammation or you get that pain. It's something you need to take every single day. So that's about it. That's really all I have. Those are like the most important things to look out for. So again, let me kind of recap. So when you're first getting into CBD, it's important to start with a low dose and gradually work your way up until you figure out a dose that works for you. And at that point, it kind of really doesn't matter what product you use. You can use anything. Just make sure you're getting a high quality product, something that has lab results and everything, so that you ensure that you're getting a high quality product. And the next thing to do, just the wrong way to take CBD is being impatient, not taking the right dose, and not taking it daily. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions about CBD, please leave them here in the comments. I'm more than happy to help and answer your questions. Or you can hop on over to hempdaddies.com and email me there, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions directly. Anyway, hope you guys have a great day.